What's going on, everybody? This is Tempest Wing, the Wing, and when there is the Wing, there is another episode of the Rift Herald, starring the one and only Tempest Wing 49. Now, this is going to be the first real episode because in episode 1, the season hadn't actually started yet. I was doing my predictions segment only, and it was purely based off of rosters. But now we've got a week of games. Guess what? I watched all of them. Some of them more than once. Some of them probably, if you combine certain plays together, 5 or 6 times, just to get the nitty gritty. So I'm well equipped to talk about this week of LCS, and I'm going to jump in to the week 1 overview of the NALCS. Now, we got a lot to talk about because TSM CLG 0-2. What happened? Very controversial in the standings here. Now, I'm not going to get too into the politics. I'm not going to flame anyone, but TSM and CLG both had some very obvious weaknesses that I'd like to point out. It's very easy to point out weaknesses. It's very hard to pick out their strengths or what they should do. So I'm not going to try to get too negative because I'm not a genius, you know. I can only say what I think, but you know that's just my opinion. TSM, a lot of their problems I'd say had to do with not playing around their bot lane. They imported this blockbuster bot lane of Sven and Mithy and kind of left them out to dry for the most part. You know, Mike Young kind of playing on his half of the map, kind of playing reactively, you know, going for picks if you know someone's too far up, but for the most part, they kind of let Sven and Mithy do their own thing. And I mean, the teams they played this week were more proactive than TSM was in getting their lanes going. So you know, there's a lot of flame on Bjerg. Some of it's warranted, some of it isn't. You know, what's he doing? Why isn't he helping out the team? Tell you one thing: playing champions like Xerath. Is Xerath a pussy champion? Yes. Does that make Bjerg a pussy? No. He could have been forced to play this champion against his will. We don't know. Song is the coach. He's pretty strict, we hear. But, yeah, I mean, anyone's going to look like a pussy playing Xerath, you know, standing on the other side of a wall while your team's 4v5ing, while you're ulting over it and shooting all your spells. You know, you're gonna look like a dumbass, but I mean that's just the champion that they played in that comp. And honestly, you know, they had some aggression. They had the Kha'Zix. Let's see, Sven was on. What else did they have? Kog'Maw. I don't want to get too into the nitty gritty, but they had some aggression elsewhere on the team. So they, you know, maybe Bjerg. They thought Bjerg could lay back and relax, but maybe his Rise game was a little more suspect. I don't want to get too into that either because I am going to do a breakdown later, spoiler alert, of TSM-TL. But I digress. TSM looking a little shaky. Same with CLG. CLG definitely sort of they look a little lost. I mean, they did lose Afrobu, one of their big leaders. Another big shot caller I'd say they lost, and this was earlier in 2017, but in Xmithy. I feel like both of those two really brought a lot to the team, and I think he said he was going to step up and try to do some of the shot calling, but looks like they've got some kinks to work out, especially that bot lane. The bot lane is suspect because, well, I don't want to get too into champion picks, but it almost seems like, you know, the Jano pick by Biofrost was a little questionable, but that could be a coaching thing as well. Stixxay definitely made some positioning errors. Likes to play that frontline aggressive style, but hey, when you're playing against a Malzahar, maybe not the best idea. Did okay in lane, but actually against C9, I'd say C9 had the better lane phase in that game. 100 Thieves game, CLG didn't have much of a chance. Meteos got in there early with Jarvan, Flag, and Drag and fucked those guys up. But yeah, I'd say another question mark is Reignover. We saw him on Rengar and Sejuani. Rengar is a classic Reignover pick, but he did some pretty what the fuck plays. Definitely early game. He you know when you have Rengar Malzahar, Hooney and Rainover worked well together. They roamed top, got Darshan, tried to get Darshan going. Um, the Malzahar ult with the Rengar snare and all that damage is a good combo. But later on in team fights, there are some weird like positioning things that fucking Rainover did that I was kind of scratching my head at. So that's CLG. I'm not we'll have to fucking see. They're kind of down there with TSM for me, where they almost looked the most. They almost looked the worst in some ways. But that's me. Some teams lower in the standings that had some early aggression. I like to see aggressive plays made, whether they work or not. Because after watching TSM, I'm just like, they didn't go for shit. I like this Optic jungler, Acadian, formerly of Echo Fox. I liked him on the Jarvan, especially in day 2. I thought he and Power of Evil had some good plays together. And then another mid jungle duo I liked was High and Contracts. High did have the honor of playing I believe he was the only person to play Zoe in the entire week of NALCS. And man, does that champion look stupid. I mean, I'm not gonna, discount High too much. He played it well, but I mean, you don't even have to play Zoe well to just look like you're blowing people up. I mean, he's shoving Ryze at Jensen out of the lane, and Ryze might not be the best pick into that, but who's Contracts? Contracts was also Jarvan in that game. First game he was Kha'Zix. Didn't do too much in their game against, who was that? They played Echo Fox. Yeah, Huni Dardoch got the better of them in that game. But I do like what I see, glimmers of hope in High in Contracts. Their play together. So I think they're the shining star of Go to Guardians, which otherwise has a pretty lackluster roster in my opinion. Speaking of which, another jungler that caught my eye was Onda. He in their game versus Echo Fox again, he wasn't able to do much against Tooney and Dardoch, but game 2 he played Zac, which I'd say is not a power pick, but every time I saw Zac, I liked it. Dardoch played it twice, Onda played it once, and basically just was able to get early ganks off, even pre-6 with Zac. His kit has so much CC, then if you have a damage source, like, let's see, Huni was playing, well, this is going to be about Echo Fox, which I guess I'll tap into a bit. Huni was playing Lucian, obviously very high damage, so combined with the CC of Zac, also if you have Gnar and Zac, which is what Echo Fox had in their second game against Clutch, that's just a lot of CC and a good amount of early game damage before the top laner gets too tanky. I forgot who solo was playing in that game. Might have been Ornn. I honestly don't remember, but that's just a lot of CC. So you're gonna ruin someone's day with all that, anyways. But I basically just talked about Echo Fox there when I meant to be talking about Onda. But basically, Onda on FlyQuest, he was looking like a playmaker. Him and in the game that they beat TSM in, him and Keen looked like they were working well together, which is interesting because Keen is or not, maybe not obviously, but he is their challenge or academy mid laner because Fly had visa issues and it could not play. So they had to sub in Keen, and he couldn't really do jack shit in his game against Echo Fox, but he had a pretty good Azir, and just Azir mixed with Zac, you have a lot of champion displacement, so that was some good ganks in the mid lane that happened there. So I saw Onda's as a bright spot in FlyQuest. Obviously, Flame is pretty solid. I saw Wild Turtle, pretty interesting week for him. In their win against TSM, I think he was like 0-4 or something like that. Just he likes to just, I think he was playing Varus, and he just likes to randomly like try to like flash ult someone, or just honestly one time I just saw him flash, and it was just kind of like, what the fuck is this guy doing? So he's almost like dead weight. I don't think too highly of him, and after watching that week of LCS, that kind of confirmed my my suspicions. Another player that I I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, but he definitely proved me wrong. Was Sven Sgarin, brother Sven of C9. I was like, all right, he's coming in, new team, new Sven, or Sven with an S, not a Z. He's popping into Cloud9. He's gonna be different, and not really. Kind of did the classic Sven, just kind of playing team fight or I would say playing engages poorly, where he kind of he's like, oh, I'm gonna go in, haha, let's see what happens, and then sometimes it's like a little too soon, or he's kind of out of position and just ends up dying. In the game, I liked him on Sejuani. I feel like if he's gonna keep up that kind of shit, then you got to put him on shit like Sejuani duty. I did not like him on the Evelyn in the game against Golden Guardians because he was kind of doing the same thing, but Evelyn's like a snowbally assassin champion, and Sven just keeps dying. He was like 1-4 or something. I mean, not to get into the KDAs too much, but he wasn't really steamrolling that game. He was sort of like a supporting jungler in doing that, and I was just kind of like, all right, well, I forgot if Sejuani was like banned or something in that game, but put him on a tank. And then there's Licorice, who just got absolutely shit on in the CLG game, which honestly, arguably not his fault. He was having to deal with roams from Reignover and Huhi. They ended up turning that game around, but he was gangplanked, so I guess they're like, yeah, let's shut this guy down so he can't really do anything later. Didn't work because other members of C9 did perform well and carry that game. But in the second game, we saw Licorice, his Kled game. That looked pretty solid to me. Not saying that I'm too jumping on the bandwagon here, but this Licorice in that game, he played the laning phase well. He was just a constant nuisance to Lorlo, which Lorlo, didn't really kill Lorlo in lane, but it was more of sort of like the late game team fights where Licorice gets the GA and he's flanking, and it's like you can't really kill him. He's just dodging and weaving all over the place. So that was a good performance from Licorice. I thought it would be the other way around. I thought Sven would be popping off and Licorice might be a liability. Kind of the other way around, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. And the only team I believe I have not talked about so far is Clutch Gaming. And that's because I just don't have too much to say about them. They beat Golden Guardians. It seemed like contracts didn't really go for too much shit in the early game, and they kind of just shut down high. And then when they played against Echo Fox, this time Clutch, didn't really. They were sort of outclassed by the Huni Dardoch duo, and actually Phoenix. Phoenix was playing Azir. The narratives are true. Come on, he was shitting on Febiven on Azir. So, so maybe Phoenix is pretty good on that champion. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about Clutch. Clutch is. I feel like I just have such a I just have the least of an opinion about Clutch because I feel like their roster on paper looks pretty good, but we'll just have to see because we saw a pretty good game out of them against Golden Guardians, and we saw not a good game against Echo Fox. So, oh wow, all right, that is the week in review. Now, I chose one match this week to go balls deep in and basically break down and analyze. And believe it or not, it was TLTSM, which was supposed to be the marquee match of the week, but it was sort of a stomp by TL. I don't think anyone saw that coming. I predicted TL would win, but I did not think it would be that close. TSM, I sort of broke this game down into 4 or 5 major fights where TL pretty much started all of them, actually almost all of them, and basically the way TSM either reacted or was sort of outmanned led to their demise. I'm not gonna go too. Well, I'm gonna go into some detail, so this might be a little confusing. But I'll start with the picks. So on DL's side, we had Gangplank on Impact. We had Gragas on Xmithy. That's a weird way to say it. Xmithy was playing Gragas. Pobelter was playing Malzahar. Doublelift was playing Tristana. Ole was playing Tarek. And I thought that pretty much all of these champions worked out beautifully. Had very good impact in the game. Xmithy started that first gank with Grog. Actually, it was started by Ole on Tarek, but Gragas and Malzahar came in as well. Impact pretty much was on point with the GP ults. He was sort of split pushing the entire game. Not that it's a bad thing, but if you can chime in on the Gangplank ults, then that's good. I'd say Pobelter on Malzahar. How many times did I see him flash ult, the right target that could let them blow up Sven or one of the squishier members of TSM. That was I would say the Tarek on Ole and the Malzahar on Pobelter were my favorite to watch. Even though Malzahar is a stupid champion where you can basically click on someone and suppress them. I mean, he knew where to be and he knew who to get and he knew when to do it. So that was good for Pobelter. And then on TSM, we've got Hunters on Gnar. We have Mike Young on Shyvana, Bjergsen on Rise, Sven on Callista, Mithy on Alistar. Now, going into this game, I was frightened of the Callista Alistar lane, or Callistar lane with Sven and Mithy. I feel like that's a well-oiled machine. They've done that so many times. Sven, great on Callista. Alistar with the Callista ult on him is a great, that just gives him another knock up, throws him in the middle of the fight, which is sometimes what you want, soaking up damage. So I was like, shit, like, TSM got like not only arguably a better bot lane player wise, but holy shit, like they got the champions they probably wanted. Bjergsen on Rise, fucking solid. Gnar on Hanser on Gnar, fucking solid. The only thing that I was skeptical of, and I turned out to be right on this. I mean, hindsight's 2020, but Mike Young on Shyvana. I think that's like a fringe pick in some other regions. I mean, I haven't been following. I've been watching like LCK and EU hither and in there, but yeah, I was just kind of like, I mean, luckily, like they have so much CC, they kind of like don't need a CC jungler like Gragas. Like they can just have Shyvana farm up, play the objectives, and I guess run in and gank if needed. But I was kind of scratching my head on this because I like to see Mike Young on the Lee Sin, on the Kha'Zix, on the Nidalee, which I guess none of those are really in meta except Kha'Zix. But Mike Young on the Jarvan would have been good. Jarvan was one of my picks of the week, which I forgot. I was supposed to do that segment next, but I forgot, so I'll come back to that. But I really like the Jarvan. That's a good aggressive jungler. I can't remember if that was banned or not this game, but I would have liked that. So let's jump into the game. All right. So the first action actually starts around 3 minutes 45 seconds, and there's sort of a situation where basically Mithy gets the headbutt on Ole, knocks him back. Ole blows flash. Both sums, Doublelift blows heal. So I believe the TSM bot lane used one sum. TL bot lane used three. So I'm like, all right, shit. TL's at a disadvantage here, but nothing really happens because neither of the junglers come bot for a while. Because about a minute later, Mike Young, with a little bit of help from Bjergsen, gets the Ocean Drake. Obviously, Shyvana gets the buff from getting Drakes. TL has no vision of this Drake, so TSM basically get it for free. And then the big play of the game comes when basically Bjergsen's getting blue buff. Pobelter, I don't know where Xmithy was at this point, but Pobelter is like, nah, I'm not. Instead of getting my blue buff, I'm gonna go top. Hanser's pushed, and he tries to get away with his hop, but he sees Pobe coming in. He flashes, but I think he was sort of already in the GP ult that impacted thrown down. So I think he's already slowed at this point, and then Pobe rolls in, hits the R button, gives him the Mal's ult, and they kill him. First blood. So Hanser dead, blows flash, doesn't really get away, not worth. So that's kind of a misplay from him. Pobe can just kind of roll in. So that, should have been playing a little more careful, I guess. But then we have, let's see, the next, about 2 minutes later, about 11 minutes in the game, Mike Young gets the next Drake on Shyvana as well. And TL had vision this time, but basically TSM bot lane kind of zoned them out. So Mike Young gets this dragon also, again, basically for free. And then, let's see. Mithy, so there's after the dragon, Mithy recalls and Callista, Sven on Callista kind of backs out, and TSM's actually able to chunk the bot tower down to about half health, pretty easy on Tristana. But I'd like to think that's maybe has to do with sort of the next play that they went, where they ended up diving that tower. Basically, slight mechanical misplay from Sven that started this whole thing off. Oh, well, I guess you could say unlucky, if you want, but 13 minutes and 17 seconds into the game, or around there, basically, Doublelift has the Taric ult on him. He rocket jumps in, and Sven flashes away, but he actually flashes in a direction that lets him still get hit by like the tip of the Taric stun, and he gets exhausted. And basically, Xmithy's rolling in at this point in the jungle, and either at this point or a little bit past this point, Pobelter starts TPing into a ward that was in the tri-brush on TSM's side of the map, so sort of behind the bot turret, if you will. So Gragas rolls in, ults Sven back, Sven's dead. Mithy flashes. So Mike Young is sort of coming in around this time too. So Mike Young and Mithy are basically in full flight, but like I said, Pobelter's TP is channeled at this point. And then one of the probably the sickest play of the game, or one of them, is that Ole has the Taric ult on Gragas, and they both flash in, and they both get the stuns on to Mike Young and Mithy. Mike Young dies immediately, and then Pobelter's there, so he flash Mal's ults Mithy, and then they kill him as well. Or maybe it's the other way around. No, Mithy dies immediately, sorry. They kill Mithy first, and then Pobelter flash ults Mike Young, and Mike Young goes down. TL get this bot lane tower as a result of the fight. Meanwhile, Bjergsen's still chilling in the mid lane. He has chipped the mid lane tower down to about a third health, and the top laners stay in their respective lanes. But like I said earlier, the Gangplank coming in. Actually, did he Gangplank ult? I don't know if he. I think he did. I gotta check. Yeah, Gangplank ulted. Gangplank ulted before Sven went down, so that contributed to the fight. So that's just the benefits of playing Gangplank, I guess. But what happens next is sort of like I guess a tempo advantage that TL has, because bot lane TSM Sven and Mithy come back up from dying. They go bot, but meanwhile TL has backed, and Doublelift and Ole go top, and they're able to get the top tower extremely low by the time Sven and Mithy can actually get to the top lane. And then 16 minutes into the game, so about a minute and a half after that, Xmithy gets Rift Herald, and TSM, they have it pinked. TL has it pinked, so TSM actually doesn't have vision in the Rift Herald pit. So TL basically get that for free. No contention there. Mike Young's on the other side of the map, and TSM bot lane are recalling. So sort of like I guess some poorly timed backs. I guess the swap to top by TL you couldn't really maybe not be able to predict, but sort of some poorly timed backs by TSM in that case. And then since they backed, they just TL just finishes getting the top tower. And then the next play comes in 17 minutes, 12 seconds into the game. TL go mid with the Rift Herald because they already have the outer top and bottom towers. So They get mid, and this fight I think is hilarious because this entire time the Rift Herald is like still alive. Like they they kill the tower, and normally like Rift Herald's low, so you just like fucking kill the Rift Herald. But the Rift Herald is just like alive and like just being a fucking nuisance to TSM during this entire game. Like Mike Young is just like fighting the Rift Herald while this team fight's happening because the Rift Herald is just there. So that it's almost like a extra man on TL side, but um everybody. So basically, everybody's this fight starts out as a 4v4 because Hanser and Impact are bot, but basically Impact is able to get there first. He basically outroams Hanser, is able to get there first. Actually, this fight starts out at a 4v3 in favor of Liquid because Bjergsen recalls and then has to TP back in. So sketchy fucking recall from Bjerg. I don't know what he thought. He might have recalled actually before the fight broke out, so it might not have been on him, but just kind of unfortunate situation there. But the tower goes down, and like TSM is still kind of like lurking around this tower, and Pobe just flash ults Sven. Sven still has no flash from the previous fight, so he goes down. And by this time, Impact is already there, so I forget exactly when Bjergsen manages to TP in, but it's like he basically contributes nothing to this fight. I mean, he not like flaming him, just saying like by the time he got to the fight, it didn't make sense to really go the fuck in. But basically, Impact's there, and then Ole gets a Taric stun on Mike Young, and I believe Impact kills him. And then Doublelift. In the meantime, the rest of TSM are sort of running back. Doublelift's getting resets left and right. So he's able to, I think he gets 2 jumps, and he's able to hunt down Mithy, kills him. And then the Rift Herald is still there. It's pretty low. It basically dies at this point, but they're able to get the mid inner tower as well, so that's 2 mid towers, basically, because the fight started around the mid outer tower, and then they get the mid inner tower as well. And then right after this, at 18 minutes in the game, TL get the Infernal Drake completely uncontested because 3 members of TSM, or 2 members of TSM, 3 members of TSM are either dead or just coming up. Then at 20 minutes in the game, Hanser does finally get the bot tower of TL, but that was already really low, so he kind of just rolls down there, hits it a few times, and let's see, Sven and Mithy are so it's still sort of like the lane swap situation where the bot lanes are still top, and Sven and Mithy are against Ole and Doublelift at the top lane. Sven and Mithy sort of start rotating mid, and then TL just kills the top inner tower. So another weird like map movement where it's just kind of like, all right, like, this Tristana is getting fed. Like, if you leave her alone in this lane, she's just gonna fucking kill the tower with her bomb move, whatever, the E, I forget what it's called, but yeah. So there's that. And then basically Impact, they try to kill Hanser in the bot lane now. Doublelift is sort of like in the fog of war behind Impact, but Hanser is able to flash out of the GP ult. So since Doublelift and Impact are bot, Bjergsen gets top outer tower, so he's split pushing up there, kind of chilling. And then Pobelter goes and tries to stop him, but Bjerg, Mithy, and Mike Young are goon squatting in the bush, and there's no vision, so Pobe does end up getting killed there. They basically just dive him. What happens next? I think the next big fight happens at 24 minutes in the game. We have TSM. Basically, TSM are like, all right, we're going to get this next Drake. It's an Ocean Drake. But at the same time, TL's going for Baron. So it's kind of like this thing where it's almost like too little too late. And this weird thing happens where I'm not exactly sure, but Hanser, so TL start Baron, and Hanser tries to TP to this ward that's by the honey fruit, so like right outside the Baron pit. But I think the ward like dies mid TP, and then the TP doesn't end up. Actually, the TP doesn't end up going off. So by the time TSM even get to this fight, Hanser's like really out of position, and they basically, TL's whittling down this Baron, and then there's this weird maneuver where Rise ults, but into the pit, but only Mike Young takes it, so he just gets Mouse ulted and then goes down. Meanwhile, GP ult is doing a good job of sort of zoning Sven and Mithy out of the fight. Impact runs in. It's another one where Impact either he didn't have a good way to TP or didn't have TP up, but it's another one where he sort of gets to the fight maybe slightly ahead of Hanser. He's kind of out of position though. He flashes out, or he flashes in sort of like into the pit towards his team. They get Baron. But basically TSM have no vision of Baron from the get-go. When they're still bot doing Ocean Drake, they probably just figured it out. They're probably just like, oh shit, like TL's probably doing Baron at this point, so then they ran over there and then got like a Farsight ward in it, so didn't have that warded either. But then sort of after this fight, Hanser, he's coming in, but he's out of position, so they kill him, basically run him down. Impact is at this point is blowing people up as GP. So TL goes mid, gets the mid inhibitor turret, gets the mid inhibitor. We're 26 minutes into the game, double if, or 25 minutes, 48 seconds to be exact, double if solos the Ocean Drake. And then the game's basically over at this point. Nothing happens until 27 minutes. TL, not much you can do at this point if you're TSM. They've got, TL's got Baron with GP and Trist, so they're just going to wave clear and fuck up your towers. Mithy goes for a last-ditch effort, flashes in, headbutts Ole back. But Tarek ult, I haven't mentioned this yet, but Ole had some pretty on-point Tarek ults, like when they dove bot lane, when they're taking damage from Baron. These Tarek ults are coming in at the right time. Just absolutely, not clutch, but absolutely crucial for some of these fights. But Tarek ult comes down, so so Ole's protected, the rest of the team's protected. Pobelter gets an ult over the base wall at Hanser. Hanser and Mithy go down because Mithy flashes in, Hanser gets Mouse ulted. You got the GP ult zoning people out. It's the same old song and dance. They kill a couple people and then they can basically just end the game at that point. So it was like a 28 minute game. Good decisive win by TL. Woo! All right. I think I'm running low on steam right now. You're shooting yourself because I forgot to do my picks of the week. Tempest Wings champions to watch out for if you're playing solo queue, if you're watching the LCS. These are the fucking champions that'll fuck you up. Let's start out with probably the champion that I had the most to say about when I was actually watching was Tarek. And it's mainly Ole. Ole played a phenomenal Tarek. The stuns that he set up, putting it on him and double lift, him and Smithy, him and whoever, just sometimes getting both of the stuns on two separate targets, is really playing that well. And then of course the Tarek ult, which I just mentioned. That's just if you can get that on 3 or 4 members of the team, that really turns around a team fight. I believe Stunt had a pretty good Tarek. He was the other Tarek I saw that was particularly notable. It got played a good amount over the course of the week. I think Matt played it and maybe Bio played it too, but I definitely liked it on Ole and Stunt the most. Definitely, if you can play that champion well, then it is definitely a good to have in your wheelhouse. Another one, Malzahar. These are both picks in this game that I just broke down. Malzahar was picked in probably almost every game, but if you have mid laners like Ryu or Pobelter who like to roam with it, actually Ryu, instead of just straight up roaming, he would just TP in. He doesn't give a fuck. If you have Unsealed Spellbook, you can just rotate that summoner spell that's not flash, and you can sometimes run cleanse, sometimes run TP to get those across the map plays, but Malzahar does seem pretty busted right now. Point and click suppress, like you might as well be running this champion. Good wave clear as well. Next champion is Gnar. I don't think I've talked too much about this, but holy shit, I basically saw Huni and Someday 2v1ing on this champion. And props goes to them, but I've seen a lot of impressive Gnar play from these, I guess almost exclusively from these Korean tops, because Impact played it against Optic, just split pushing like a demon that entire game. And Flame had some good Gnar ults against TSM, so I mean, I'm not discounting these players. These are all very good players. Probably at the top of the top lane rankings for me. I'm a top laner myself, and I look out for who's making these manly plays. But a lot of them are doing it on Gnar, so that's definitely a powerful pick. Moving to the jungle, we've got Jarvan. I love watching these aggressive Jarvan plays. We had Meteos on Jarvan, we had Contracts on Jarvan, we had Acadian on Jarvan. All of these making shit happen. Meteos gets first blood with the Jarvan. Acadian, I believe, got first blood as well. Can't remember what Contracts did on that champion, but Jarvan, you got the flag and drag. You can go full tank, Cinder Hulk build, and you'll still do enough damage early game to fuck up some squishies, especially AD carries. So I like to see more of that. And then this is almost like the anti-pick of the week, but Zoe. I really don't like watching Zoe. She basically, if she lands her asleep thing, then she can just get a free Q on you and then do like half or more of your HP bar. I'm hoping teams will realize that they need to ban this champion going into next week. Just really, really not fun to watch and kind of oppressive in lane. So get that shit out of here. If it's up, you might as well pick it because you're trying to win. I get that, but just ban that shit every game. It was almost banned every game, but all right. Got to wet my whistle here. I'm talking for a while. All right. And that's all I have for picks of the week. Now, if you've seen episode 1 of the Rift Herald, you know what's coming next. It's the prediction segment. I'm just going to come out and say it. Some of these predictions are going to be very controversial. I'm going to get flamed. Keep me off Reddit because they're not going to like it. Actually, they might like it because now Reddit hates Bjergsen. But let's not get into politics here. I am how do I put this? I am an agnostic when it comes to potential and hope. I'm looking at results from week 1. And by results, I mean not only the wins and the losses, but how did the individual players do in these games. So I'm going to be very harsh on some teams that on paper have very good rosters. And I'm going to be maybe not optimistic, but I'm going to be maybe a little more favorable to some weaker rosters, but they did shit in their games. And these are going to be some very, very, what's the word? Controversial predictions. So let's just, without further ado, let's just get into it. So game 1 of week 2 is Clutch Gaming versus CLG, and this is one, like I said earlier, I have the least to say about Clutch, and I had some negative things to say about CLG. I have Clutch winning this. Both teams sort of underwhelmed me because I thought they were both going to go 2-0. Actually, no, I predicted CLG to lose, but I knew that would be close against Cloud9. Because on one hand, I liked the early game. I liked CLG's early game against Cloud9, where they had I was talking about this earlier, but they had Rainover on Rengar, Darshan on Ornn, and Huhi on fucking Malzahar. So obviously with Malzahar, with that much CC in a Rengar, you're gonna fucking kill someone. Solo, Licorice is playing Gangplank, they just fucking kill him. So I mean, I could definitely see them trying to abuse Solo in that regard, but I think that Rainover's play, in my opinion, was a lot more iffy than Lyra. I thought Lyra was generally solid. His Eve game was pretty good, and then the game that they lost when he was on Sedge. I think Sedge is a weird pick on Lyra, just because that's more. He's like the opposite of Sven, where they both played Sejuani and Eve in week 1, and I was just like, why is Sven Zagaren playing Eve? And then I'm like, why is Lyra playing Sejuani? But regardless, I think Lyra will be able to make up for that deficit just because I think he'll be able to outplay Reignover in some degree. I also think CLG's bot lane is a huge weakness right now. I just didn't really see them trying to do anything other than get caught out and die. Hakuho on it basically. I thought Apollo. I guess I thought both of them were better than their on. Both of the bot laners on Clutch were better than both of the bot laners on CLG. I thought Apollo looked solid even in the game they lost. He was probably the most fed member of the team, just keeping up with CS, keeping up, trying to do damage. And then Hakuho, I saw him making some fucking plays. I'll tell you what, in the game against Golden Guardians, they get the kill on high because he's running Unsealed Spellbook, switches up to teleport, teleports mid, or an ult right down the middle, and they just run down and kill high and maybe someone else. I can't remember. But yeah, so I think if Hakuho keeps up that, I mean, he didn't do shit when they lost to Echo Fox, fair enough, but I saw a glimmer in one game, and I didn't see shit out of Biofrost, so I think that that bot lane would be better. So, Lyra could play around them, or he could play around top, but I think the X factor for CLG is Darshan. I think he looks better when he plays tanks, but sometimes he likes to try to carry, and not most of the time, but whenever I'm watching, it fails. So I'm not too huge on Darshan. I think he's probably better than Solo, but I don't think it'll be that much that it'll matter. So I predict Clutch Gaming to win this matchup. Sorry, CLG fans. That's a tough one. Moving on down the line, here's another unpopular opinion. TSM versus Optic. I have Optic winning. And this is purely because I'm looking at what TSM did in week 1 and what Optic did in week 1. And I'll tell you what TSM did in week 1. Jack shit, other than get some dragons. So do I think that Reginald will be fucking pissed and they'll figure some shit out and they'll redouble their efforts and beat Optic? Maybe. But we just don't know. I think TSM is still probably going to win the league by the end of the split, but we just don't know. But I don't want to talk about the future. I'm talking about week 2, and in week 1, Optic looked better than TSM. That's just my opinion. Acadian, aggressive jungler, even more aggressive than Xmithy, and Mike Young just did not really impress me. He was more reactive than proactive. Acadian was very proactive. If we can get him onto the Jarvins of the world or the Rangars of the world, that's who he played in game 1, is Rangar. Maybe not Rangar. I mean, I'm a little iffy on Rangar. NA Rangar. Lol. But the Jarvan of the world, get him on some aggressive shit. Get it going. And then the top lane is an interesting matchup because I feel like Hanser and Zig have basically both been sort of like playing potato champs in the top lane, like Cho'Gath and Warren and shit like that. So that's a wash to me. I don't think either one is going to have too much of a leg up on the other. Power Evil versus Bjerg, always an interesting matchup. For whatever reason, Power Evil seems to be the kryptonite to Bjergsen, but I'm not going to buy into the narrative too much. We'll just have to see. I think overall Bjergsen is a better mid laner, but whatever. And then Optic's bot lane impressed me a little bit. I guess Arrow did, as not so much Elimination. So I think that Sven and Mithy is a better bot lane, but maybe not by too much. But basically, I see Acadian, Power of Evil being the catalyst, maybe playing around bot because TL had the winning formula. You fuck up the bot lane and get them off kilter and just eventually win the game through that. So Acadian goes bot, snowballs Arrow. Power of Evil just does his job and plays fucking like Malzahar or some shit. Bingo, bango, bongo. That's the game. Now we got C9 versus Echo Fox. Man, I'm slamming the endemics right now. I said CLG was going to lose. I said TSM was going to lose. Guess what? I think C9 is going to lose. You're going against one of the best top jungle synergies I saw in week 1, and now you're going against arguably one of the worst, mainly because of Sven's Garen. Yeah, I mean, C9 definitely have a better bottom half of the map. I think Jensen's better than Phoenix. I think Sneaky Smoothie are better than Altec Adrian. So if C9 play around bot, that's how they would win. But I can imagine another game where Sven's Garen is like 0-5, and I mean we saw Licorice get abused in CLG. I mean if they're if Phoenix, Dardoch, and Huni are 3-manning top, it's not even Licorice's fault. It's just like he's gonna he's gonna die at that point, and I don't have high hopes for such sort of a weak jungle and top against such a strong jungle and top. It's all about Dardoch. Dardoch impressed me in week 1. He only played Zac, so maybe that's a ban that C9 tries. Maybe we'll see him on some other champions. Not sure. Both these teams are sort of teams that got leads and then slightly faltered in the mid lane or mid game. Echo Fox against FlyQuest and C9 against Golden Guardians. So these are both sort of like this will be an interesting matchup because my narrative is Huni and Dardoch are going to just cave this top lane in and take that to victory. But we'll see. It's very possible Jensen just outplays everybody, and Sneaky and Smoothie are just a better bot lane, which is my opinion. I think they're better, but will it be enough? Find out on week 2 of the LCS, because it hasn't happened yet. Moving on to the match of the week. I forgot to do a shit show of the week, but I definitely did a match of the week. 100 Thieves versus TL. Both teams 2-0. Both looking pretty good. I would say that these two teams have some of the best overall team play in week 1. All 5 members of the team contributing to movements around the map and team fights and objectives and such. 100 Thieves in their game against Optic, which was a 60-minute fiasco. I forgot why that game fucking took so long, but they played well when they did play well in that game. They played well around the Rise ult, so we'll see if that's something that Ryu wants to bring back in. But see, yeah, Ryu played Rise, Malzahar, Pobelter played Malzahar twice, so maybe Malzahar is a contested pick in this game. Also, Gnar would be a contested pick. We've seen Someday and Impact both looking very good on the Gnar. I have TL winning this, but I'm scared of Someday because if he gets the Gnar, I guess Impact could try to get the Gangplank. I'm not sure how this pick ban is going to go. I'm not going to try to delve into it too much, but Impact is playing. I mean, he's good. He's a good split pusher, but Someday is too. So what happens when a good split pusher meets another good split pusher? I mean, we'll have to fucking see. But I think TL probably have the better jungler and bot lane. I think Pobelter. It's hard to tell based on week 1, but I'd say the bot lane is definitely where TL maybe has an advantage. But we've seen Meteos and Xmithy both trying to play around their bot lane, so that'll be an interesting matchup. But Cody Sun to me was questionable because in that game, the game when they were playing Optic and it went to 60 minutes, he was playing Kog'Maw, and he was just like not really doing anything in some of these late game team fights where it's just like if you have a Kog'Maw with 6 items, you should probably just be like murdering everybody. Sort of like a weird positioning from him. He was sort of like almost like out of the fight, not really hitting people, but I don't know. I think that's maybe a weakness that TL can exploit, so I'm giving it to TL. Moving on down to Golden Guardians versus FlyQuest. I'm giving it to FlyQuest. I think that it's going to come down to the junglers. Both Onda and Contracts were pretty proactive in making plays. I I think it's still going to be Keen in the mid lane. I, I'm not sure if Fly is still having visa issues, if he's coming back in. Um, but I liked Keen on this Azir pick. In the game that they won against TSM, I liked Onda on the Zac. I liked Flame on the Gnar. I think that's a strong core. If if Golden Guardians is gonna win, it's gonna be through exploiting Wild Turtle. I think he is the weakest member of FlyQuest that I saw in week 1. I thought High maybe looked better than he should have because he was on that Zoe just murdering everybody. So we'll have to see about that. But it's going to come down to the junglers, in my opinion. And I think overall, FlyQuest played better. I didn't, yeah. When I compare Lorlo to Flame, I didn't see Lorlo really doing much. There wasn't much he could do against Licorice or whoever else. Fuck, who else did they play? Oh yeah, Lorlo was against Solo in the game that they lost against Clutch, and Solo's a rookie. So yeah, I think Flames got the upper hand here. And if Keen can get Azir, maybe Keen is mini Phoenix on this Azir pick. Holy shit! Or believe it or not, Azir might just be a good champion right now, and both of them are just playing it because it's good. I don't know, but Keen couldn't really do jack shit when he played Cassiopeia. So we'll have to see if he plays either or neither of those champions going in. But in a nutshell, FlyQuest going to get the W. All right, now we have Echo Fox versus TSM. Moving on to day 2. I have Echo Fox winning. Obviously, if I think Optic can beat TSM, I also think Echo Fox can beat TSM. Well, wow, shit. I was shooting my mouth off about the Keen Azir when now we've got Phoenix himself, the Azir god. Holy shit! I mean, what can Bjergsen even do to compare to this guy? I mean, God. And then you go to the top lane and it's like Huni versus Hanser. I mean, come on. All jokes aside, I do think Huni and Dardoch should be able to run over Hanser. In the matchup that we saw last week when Someday basically won lane against Darshan in the Gnar versus GP matchup and basically was able to take turret by himself with no jungle pressure. I see a very similar thing happening. Even if Dardoch doesn't come top, I think Huni just outlanes fucking Hanser. But Dardoch has been playing around Huni in both games we've seen, so I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. On the other side, Mike Young has not really done any proactive plays, just kind of trying to like counter gank and getting some objectives. So I think Dardoch is the better looks like the better jungler there. I think Huni looks like the better top laner. And I like Sven and Mithy. Like if TSM is going to win this game, it's because Sven and Mithy are just a lot better than Altek and Adrian. That lane is going to lose to Sven and Mithy. And Sven and Mithy kind of did the same thing where they were just able to outlane Wild Turtle and Stunt last week and just get the tower with no jungle help. So at Dardoch's top, I could see bot lane just fucking losing. And like, as much as I love seeing Bjergsen on Xerath, I feel like maybe if they got him on some like different champions that could like do more shit, like I don't know. Let's see what else has been played. Like you've got Malzahar, you've got Orianna. Like, I mean, that's your win condition is put Bjergsen on a more impactful champ than fucking Xerath. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I'm thinking Echo Fox gets the win here. TSM will probably get it together, but based on week 1, there's no way in hell they beat Echo Fox. So we'll have to see on that. Let's see. Ooh, man. Here's another one that people aren't going to like. C9 versus 100 Thieves. I have 100 Thieves winning. It's the same thing. Man, C9 are just not getting a break. They're playing against 100 Thieves who have Someday and Echo Fox who have Huni. So it's interesting because I feel like Meteos played more around bot than he did around Someday, at least from what I recall. But maybe in this game he shifts his attention top because this is just another easy way to exploit the weak top side of C9. We've already seen Ryu roaming either on Rise or through his Malzahar TPs. So I mean, the core of Someday Meteor's Ryu could just try to shut down top and win the game from there, and that's basically how I am gonna call that one. Sven's Garen, I think I already said this, but please put him on a tank. Don't put him on Evelyn. Let Lyra play Evelyn. Let Lyra give Sven Sejuani. Give him Sejuani duty, mopping people up. That's basically what I got there. And then bot lane, it's an interesting matchup. I think C9 is the better bot lane and arguably mid lane, but the real matchup is between Smoothie and Aframu. Both sort of shot callers and somewhat leaders of the team from the support position. Both similar champion pools, so that'll be a good matchup. That'll be the lane to watch, I guess, if it kind of goes without any jungle. If all the jungle shit is going on top, that would be maybe the duo to watch, the 2v2. I think Smoothie probably has the edge on Afro, but could be wrong on that. So yeah, it's weird. I mean, I have so many, I have some good things to say. It's exactly like their matchup against Echo Fox. Echo Fox has the better top side of the map. C9 is the better bot side of the map. But I just feel like the win condition is to play through top, which 100 Thieves hasn't done too much. So maybe they'll switch it up. But then again, if Meteos plays through bots, you could get Cody Sun and Afro ahead again, which is what they did versus CLG. So not been rambling about that matchup for enough. So let's move it on to the next matchup, which is Optic versus FlyQuest. I have Optic winning. I think that Optic bot lane should not crush, but if we get Acadian going bot with a Jarvan, if we get a Power of Evil going in, TPing in, actually I don't even know if he really did that. Kind of forgot what Power of Evil did in some of those games, but we get Acadian going in, smashing Wild Turtle. That's basically how they win. I think Optic probably has a better team overall, except for the top lanes. Flame is better than Zig in my opinion. So you go down the list man for man. I mean, I'm still, just because I'm unsure about the whole Fly Keen thing, I'm not going to comment on that lane, but I think Acadian probably a little more. He was more. I mean, he was playing Jarvan as opposed to Zac, but I saw more fire out of Acadian than I did Onda. Both definitely catalysts on their teams, but I think if they have the better bot lane, Acadian just gets in and smashes their bot lane, and that's how they win the game. Yeah. Next matchup: GG versus CLG. Woo! Can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going Golden Guardians to win this matchup. CLG, I think they're another team that could definitely improve. They're like TSM for me, where like they're probably at home thinking, what the fuck happened? Why'd we go 0-2? And I have both CLG and TSM going 0-2 this week, 0-4 in general. So that's just because I'm not going off of what I think they're doing behind the scenes, just basically seeing them in week one. I think contracts look better than Rainover. Rainover was very iffy in some cases. I think it's another matchup for Darshan where he's going against someone who is of comparable skill, and I don't think that it'll be enough for him to really rip through the top lane. So I think we have a world where contracts can really play through any of these lanes because the CLG bot lane looks weak. And honestly, like definitely in Mad are not up there, but I rated them as the worst bot lane in the LCS just looking at it. But they might be like the ninth best. So who knows? But yeah, I don't have faith in a lot of these players on CLG based on their performance in week one, other than who he probably looked the best, but even he faltered at times. Yeah, I mean, This is a very controversial one because Golden Guardians also looked very bad against Echo Fox. Is it Echo Fox? No, it was Clutch. They looked very bad against Clutch, but I think CLG is just looking pretty bad right now, and I'm like contracts and high, like that, like if they can steamroll that lane, that's what it is, and we definitely saw a lot of that in the game they played against C9. So I'm liking contracts on these aggressive picks. I'm not liking Rainover so far. He had a good early game. It's like contracts had. I guess they both sort of had one game where they looked somewhat promising, but for me, contracts just looked a notch better. That's my opinion. Neither team did too well. And then moving on to the last matchup, which is TL versus Clutch. I just have TL. I just think TL is a better team. I think Impact is better than Solo. Thebavin looked really iffy in their game against Echo Fox. He was just getting manhandled by Phoenix, the Azir god, which, any mortal human being, when faced with the Azir god, would just, get absolutely shit on. But, yeah, I don't know if Pobelter is going to break out the Azir or not. So maybe that's Thebavin's kryptonite or something, his flashbacks to Season 5, but that's all people played. But, yeah, I just think like it's. Maybe mid lane goes even. Maybe Thebavin can do well against Pobelter, which Pobelter looked pretty fucking solid. So we'll see. But I just think Impact is better than Solo. I think Doublelift and Ole are better than Apollo and Hakuho. If Clutch is going to win this, it's going to be through. I think the best players, the players that looked the best in Week 1 on Clutch were Apollo and Lyra, because even in the losses, they were still kind of holding on and trying to stop the hemorrhage of losing ground. But this is the last matchup. I'm losing steam, but I could see Lyra just busting people open on the map, but he would have to go on he would have to go on a tear. That's just my thing. I think because the thing about TL is when they played Optic, right? That was more of a back and forth game. Like TL crushed TSM, and then Optic was more back and forth. I think Optic made the first play on bot, I want to say. Well, Optic made the first move, and it did kind of go back and forth where Ole was like trolling and like flash, not actually trolling, but he made a few questionable engages where he tried to like go in on the thresh hook and then he just died, and then the rest of TL would just run away and be like, "Well, what the fuck?" But I'm sure they're gonna. I can't really know what they're gonna do behind the scenes, but yeah, maybe Ole is a wild card in Week 2 based on some of those plays. But the thing is, like TL, like sort of regained composure within the game because there was a point in the game where I was like, shit, like Optic could actually win this, and then TL basically took a step back. They're like, all right, let's chill out for a bit, and then they regained composure and made a few decisive plays at the end of the game. So even if Lyra is busting people up early game, based on what I saw in Week 1, I think that TL can recover and they can turn things around and close out the game in their favor. So basically a quick look. Yeah, believe it or not, I'm not done. I like to look at the standings and then look at my predictions and then look at what the standings will be if I was right. So I'm taking the actual standings from Week 1 and then my predictions from Week 2. And it looks all right to me. I mean, it's sort of the same hierarchy that we were already seeing. TL Echo Fox are 4-0 if my predictions are right, and then 100 Thieves is 3-1. Those are definitely the top 3 teams. I thought in Week 1. What were the actual standings though? Yeah, because anyways, and I'm not going to get into it, but then you sort of have this middle tier where it's like Clutch, FlyQuest, Optic, C9. Those are the teams where it's like I've seen good things, I've seen bad things. This is getting really trite. I don't even want to go into this, but basically I have CLG TSM 04. I'll address that again. I mean, TSM looked like the worst team to me in this week, just because they Didn't really go for any aggressive plays, but I mean that's just 1 week, and it's same with CLG. Not much I can say here that I've already said. Rambling on again, but yeah, I think after week 2, I think TL, Echo Fox, 100 Thieves leading the pack. I think that makes sense to me, so I'm okay with my predictions, even though I've been harsh on some other teams. All right, ugh. That about does it for episode 2 of the Rift Herald. Almost forgot the name of my own talk show. The premiere podcast for the NALCS. Let's not forget that. It's in the name. I'd like to think that this week I included a little of everything. I did an overview. I talked about some champions. I went balls deep in one game, broke down some team fights, and then I did a prediction segment. So you can have it your way. I'm not sponsored by Burger King, but you can have it your way. Hopefully I continue to improve my analysis for episode 3, which is week 2 of the NALCS. And I would love to hear some feedback in the comments below. I have made some very bold picks. I know there's people out there that don't agree with me. Put some comments in there. Tell me why I'm wrong. We're going to fucking see. Because I'm probably going to be wrong on some of these. But it'll create some good discussion. And yeah, that's all I got. Subscribe to my channel, like this video. It's all the usual bullshit, right? PR, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, all right. That's it.